Hey, Whitney, it's great to see you today. Thanks for coming in. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Just okay?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough week.
Tell me about that.
Well, it's just been a lot of, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of eyes on me everywhere I go, and I've never really felt that way before, but I just feel like even when I'm just walking down the road, like everybody's looking at me and everybody is critiquing every move, and I just put my head down and walk a little faster until I get where I need to be.
Tell me a little about when this first started happening.
Um, it started happening on and off maybe a few months ago, but I've kind of become more aware of it over the last couple weeks. I never really noticed it until I really was like, nobody look at me. It feels like it got really intense out of nowhere.
So what I'm hearing is a couple weeks ago is when you think you first started noticing that a lot of eyes were on you, that you were feeling watched. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of more like I feel like I'm being analyzed. Not watched in like a creepy stalker way, but analyzed in like a critical way by people I've never even met.
Okay. So by analyze, does it feel like they are judging, or I'm trying to figure out a little bit more of kind of what you mean by being analyzed.
It just feels like, I guess judging is an okay word to say. Kind of just like I feel like I'm being critiqued.
Okay. Do you remember specifically when the first time, I know you said a couple weeks ago, but do you remember a time when this first, I don't know, started coming over you?
I'd probably say towards the beginning of the year, so a few months ago. But it really feels like it's spiked over the last few weeks.
And so this feeling watched is kind of the first initial reaction. How does this affect you throughout the rest of the day?
I feel like I can exhale once I finally get where I'm supposed to be because I know once I get, let's say I'm walking to work, even just from the parking lot. Once I get into the office, I know who's going to be there, I know what to expect, and I feel like I can exhale because I'm prepared to interact with those people and I'm prepared to do what I'm supposed to do there.
So it's, from what I'm understanding, it's more of a wanting to look like you have it, not all together, but you have an idea what's going on. There's no unknowns. Is that kind of what I'm hearing a little bit?
Yeah, I think I just feel better when I know what I'm getting myself into, and the thought of walking, even in a parking lot, there can be so many other people also parking in the parking lot at that time who I don't know, and I don't know how to respond necessarily to them, or I'm afraid of what they'll think of me, even just like from the way I park my car, you know?
Yeah, I totally understand. I too have felt like I need to appear a certain way and have it all together. So can you think back? Obviously, I know you were saying you really feel like people are watching you. But when did you really start feeling like you needed to have it all together around people you weren't comfortable with?
Mm, I think I probably just feel the need to be accepted by people I don't know because in the past I've been denied by people that I thought I knew very well, and so that brings this fear of being unwanted even by strangers, which sounds silly, but it's something that even just when I'm walking, I'm afraid of people looking at the way I'm walking and then feeling repulsed by me.
So what I'm hearing is that this isn't just a couple week thing. That it might be going back in your childhood. Tell me a little bit more. I wanted to kind of hear a little bit more about feeling rejected from someone you were close to in your past. That seems to be affecting you now. So tell me a little bit more about that situation.
Okay, so I grew up in a small town and kind of had the same friend group for most of my life. And I had a couple friends in particular that I felt like I really poured into and they really poured into me. And we just were like raised together in a very similar home environment. And so we had a lot in common. But then as our life progressed and we grew into our own people, even though we had a very common upbringing, we, I guess, turned into, we just grew into things that were less and less common. And I just wasn't aware, I guess, of these differences. And basically after high school, so we were friends through childhood, through junior high and high school. After high school, this friend just kind of like stopped reaching out to me, which I understand it's an unrealistic expectation to think that once we move and go away to college that we'll still be just as close. But I felt so empty by the fact that I was not reached out to once, if that makes sense.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, this is a friend from childhood who you were in close proximity with for a while, and you would consider yourself extremely close friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then after school, kind of had a few rifts that ended up turning into parting of a friendship later on. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I don't even know if there were even like I to this day still kind of like question like where did I go wrong? What did I do wrong? And I don't know. I don't have answers for that, and it just brings a lot of questions about the validity of our friendship even leading up to that point. Since we did grow up in such a small town, was it more forced because we were, in the same group by default? So it just brings a lot of questions, and I thought I was in a like better understanding of letting it go, but maybe I'm not.
Yeah, and it's completely normal to, in situations like that, look at what did I do wrong? Did I do anything wrong? Because a lot of the times you didn't, but it's still completely normal to wonder what could I have done differently in that situation. Moving from the situation of now you are currently dealing with unease with the public eye, not as much as this individual friendship. Have you had any chance to kind of dialogue with her since? How long ago did this friendship, do you think, end?
I would say this friendship ended a couple of years ago, and about a year later, she did end up reaching out, and she gave me a form of an apology and a little bit of an explanation, but even her explanation was kind of, I don't have an explanation, which honestly brought even more questions to me of kind of like, this friend knows, like, she has this guilt of not being friends anymore, but even she doesn't have answers. So it's had me in another whirlwind of, oh my goodness, like, she doesn't even know what I did wrong. And I just felt like I bore a lot of the weight of that friendship ending. And then I would say so 2 years ago, probably the friendship ended. A year later, she reached out. And then relatively recently, we were able to kind of get on a good page of where we're cordial friends, and we can talk about life a little bit, but it's definitely not the same. There's still kind of like that little elephant in the room. And I would say that's relatively recent.
Okay. And yeah, it is completely normal as friends to drift apart, but this seems like a little bit more of feeling like a relationship was maybe a little more of a facade and not as much as her being there for you, but really feeling like it was more one-sided on your part and feeling like you still messed up. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think up until even maybe now, I didn't realize our friendship was a facade, and that makes me question my judgment, I guess, of others, because I always have thought of myself to be able to kind of see people's true colors, but that kind of scares me that apparently I can't, and I can fall for people's front that they put on for me, and that makes me feel uneasy and a little insecure, I guess.
So I'm kind of sensing a little bit of a theme of just feeling a little bit insecure when it comes to close relationships and relationships with people you don't even know. I think that kind of might have a little bit of reason of why you're feeling this way in public as well, because you're just afraid of what am I doing wrong. I kind of like to maybe make you look at it a little bit different way. Think of yourself as the person who was walking down, and are you paying attention a lot of times to, like you said, how someone parks next to you? Is that really what your first thing you're focusing on when you're walking around?
Not unless there's a cute dog in the car.
Okay, yeah, we all love a cute dog. Okay, so aside from the cute dog car, is it normal for you to critique everyone's parking job as you drive through a parking structure?
No.
So would it make sense to follow that other people are critiquing your driving?
Not necessarily. I see the jump that you're pointing out, yeah.
So I'm thinking it's maybe a little bit challenging for you to separate a relationship from your childhood to new relationships that happen now that haven't even started, but you're a little bit afraid that you might mess it up before it even happens. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
Okay. Well, I want to maybe work on a little bit of an idea. What is one kind of way? I want to work on this together, but what is a way you think you can kind of work on when you notice yourself start to worry about people thinking lowly of you, worry about people, I don't know, judging your parking job, so to say. What's a little bit of a way you think you can get that out of your mind and kind of transition to something else?
I mean, if I can allow myself to remind myself that I don't look out for other people's parking jobs, and when I'm walking across the street, I'm not, panoramic view of everybody around me, taking in all of the curiosities of other things that people are doing. But I think I just get so worked up in myself that that thought seems so distant because I'm so lost in my own thoughts, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So then let's kind of start a little bit slower. Maybe just start jotting down. You have notes on your phone, I'm assuming, correct? Maybe start jotting down times when you feel like people that you don't know might be judging your behavior or judging something about you. And then try to put yourself in their shoes. So writing it down would help a lot, just kind of painting out that picture. Something like we discussed, parking. And maybe just taking a second to think, is this something that I would also judge someone about? A lot of the times, I think you'll probably find that that's not the case. So how does that sound? Do you think you can maybe spend this next week journaling that, and then we'll revisit this in our next session?
Yeah, so understanding when I'm having these thoughts is kind of what the goal is for next week, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I can do that.
Awesome, sounds good. Well, Whitney, it's a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Awesome, see you then.